And I'm on air. Hey, what's up? How about that, huh? I was actually going to do a video to kind of cover this, and I was like, man, there's no way I can do one and have it uploaded for noon in time. And actually, I have Xbot. He's going to be joining me as well very shortly. So look forward to that as well. If you guys are just joining me, like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Get it out there so people can enjoy it. And, there is actually a lot of cool stuff to talk about. So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing a live thing. I was happened to be home. And, so I figured, hey, why not get out there and talk a little bit about what's going on with Microsoft and what's going on with Xbox in terms of this new leak. I did link it so you guys can check it out. There's been multitude of rumors that are sort of coming out now, and I think that it's really cool. I really like that what Microsoft is sort of bringing to the table, if in fact this E3 is going to be what some of these leaks are, because it's actually going to be very much games related, and it's actually going to be very much, hardware related as well, which I think a lot of people are excited about because we all want more hardware and stuff like that. Hey, what's up, Xbot? How you doing, man?
Yo, what is going on, my brother? Nice to join you bright and early since I woke up at 11 o'clock today. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, I can imagine, man. Life must be good, huh? When you're waking up at 11. So
Well, it's my day off. I did wake up earlier to make sure the kids went to school and all that good stuff. But then I was like, you know what? It's my day off. I'm going back to bed, man.
yeah, dude, I hear you, man. It's actually I don't work until later, so yeah, it's actually pretty cool to come out here and do a live show. I was just gonna do a sort of a regular video, like I was telling these people, and then basically what happened was, what the heck was that? I had a little bit of time, so I was able to do this video now, and I sent you the link to this video and things like that. There's a lot of Xbox stuff going on. I might just get your input on the stuff that's going on with this Nintendo stuff as well, because I know that's something we're going to talk about on Crossfire. I've actually been, I wouldn't say arguing about it, but I would say that I've been talking about it loudly on Twitter this morning to a lot of Xbox fans, and just very surprised that so many Xbox fans are kind of okay with basically Microsoft.
Definitely accepting it, and like my whole thing when it comes to that is like, why are they scratching their heads about other people not being happy about it? Like, I can see that side of the coin as well.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, brother, me and you, like, we both, when we talk about the Switch, I say the world's most powerful handheld all the time. So in my opinion, if Xbox is gonna, if they're gonna have Game Pass on multiple devices and stuff, especially devices that are mobile, I kind of thought it was a no-brainer to be on Switch as well.
I mean, look, if they're going to do that, the problem is that I have is that they're clearly just setting themselves up for a situation maybe later where they don't have to, you know, rely so much on the hardware. Like, to me, and this maybe is just a me thing and maybe not, because you hear from people, oh no, they'll never stop doing hardware. And that might be true, because you know what, they do like getting that I think it's something like 2.5 billion annually off Xbox Live Gold, which I think is cool, right? That's a big number. The thing is, aren't we the suckers for paying that? Because we are the only ones paying for that. And let's say that the Switch does get a Game Pass, right? They're not going to have to pay Xbox Live Gold to play Gears 5 online or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be included with their Game Pass price. PC gamers don't have to pay it. Mobile gamers don't have to pay it. We're the only ones that pay it, right? And they're making a ton of money off. They're even making a ton of money off of people having to pay even free-to-play games. You know what I mean? Which I thought was kind of a really bum move.
Dirtbag move right there, man.
It is. It's very much a dirtbag move. So for me, it's like, this is almost the console generation that Xbox forgot, because it started off promising, then they start getting beat, and then it's like they just throw in the towel. Okay, we'll play anywhere. And I remember, dude, I had these arguments, right? And I remember arguing with people, and they were like, play anywhere is going to mean we're going to get tons more of exclusives and this and that. And it realistically, the couple years that we've had play anywhere, we haven't got any more exclusives.
Yeah, games that were made basically on PC, people were saying we're going to come over to Xbox, if not the only other console that game would be on, you know what I'm saying? It would at least be first over here. And that didn't really happen. I don't. It's a crazy time, but what I'm thinking here, I know we're paying for Xbox Live, and all I can do at this point is kind of like speculate on what's going on. I think it might be like the jig is up, and the time is closing down where we pay for Xbox Live Gold. If every other place is getting it and having a chance to play with just the subscription to Game Pass. I feel like possibly at E3, which I know we're going to talk about the whole E3 thing. I feel like they're going to announce that, they're kind of doing away with people on console paying for Xbox Live Gold.
You think they're going to just give up, 2.5 billion? I don't know. I mean, like that puts them kind of back.
If they're really banking on Game Pass subscriptions, like from Switch owners and eventually from people who want to play it, even just on tablets and mobile, but if they're really banking on a lot of people getting Game Pass subscriptions, that'll wipe out the whole, like that will be their profit from now on rather than the goal. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, I see what you're saying, but I just don't see them getting rid of. Like I would be fearful of them getting rid of Xbox Live Gold because that's the only reason that keeps them making hardware, in my opinion, right? It'd be much easier for them just to go third party. Imagine a world where they could put Halo on PlayStation, right? That's 100 million people right there. Like, I just feel like they've kind of given up this generation, and I get that because they really did kind of step in it to start the generation. And now it's like, okay, we're going to put our stuff on other things. But the more you look into it, it just seems a little bit weird to me. Like Hellblade going to Switch now, well after Microsoft bought them, well after, there was no deals for that. Like, this seems like something new. And then you have these rumors of not only Game Pass going to Switch, but Microsoft publishing stuff like Ori 2, Super Lucky's Tale, and Cuphead to go to Switch as well. Obviously, the Switch isn't powerful enough to play like the newer Xbox games, but it does, like, what happens if they come out with this new, more powerful Switch? Maybe that one can play Xbox games natively, or all of a sudden Sony is very chummy with Microsoft, right? And why wouldn't they? Because I know a lot of people, myself included,
they see all that going on with Nintendo, and they're like, man, these guys are being really nice. Let's start being nice to them back, and then really kind of like own this whole place with being able, to have our true exclusives, plus, the possibility of having Sony players able to play Xbox games at some point in time on the console.
Well, here's the funny part, right? So, and I get it. Like social media tends to be a big echo chamber, and a lot of Xbox guys, and I have nothing but respect for these guys, like their opinions. I'm not like fighting with these guys on Twitter. We're just sharing opinions, right? And I have a different opinion. I'm more old school. They
don't like yours.
I'm more old school dinosaur. So they see me saying stuff like, it looks like they're kind of weaning us off the console, and they're like, no, they're setting us up for the future. And I'm just like, well, Nintendo and Sony aren't really doing it that way. And I'm not saying that Microsoft has to do everything, but it seems like the main excuse that people make is Google and Amazon. And I'm like, I don't really understand that, because these companies are going to possibly come out with streaming stuff. Like Amazon already had a little streaming kit, and nobody cared. I don't really see that cutting into anything. Like, I really wish Microsoft would have went all out for the console thing, because it seems like, dude, like, we suffered with no games and having to pay to play online, and everybody else is going to get the payoff of playing all of our games. And you know what I mean? And not only that, but again, and I brought this up too, I'm like, okay, so Sony won't allow Microsoft to put their games on there, right? But why? If you're Sean Layden, which, by the way, they've been very kind of chummy lately. Like, I'm sure you've seen it, right? He's like, Xbox is great. We're all just good friends and all this kind of.
There's no competitive platform.
There's no competitive platform. Because see, my thing is this, right? I think that there's going to be a swerve, and you might see Game Pass go to PlayStation, or Xbox published games go to PlayStation, right? Because if you're Sean Layden or Sony, why wouldn't you allow that? Because it's going to make the Xbox platform all the less relevant, and you're going to get paid for people to play Xbox games on your platform. So I think that that's something that, like, people should keep an eye on. And I realize that they're making multiple Xbox consoles right now, and I think that's fine. I just am not really sure, if it's something that so many people are going to be able to. Luca, hey, thanks. She says, I keep telling people to leave you alone. No one wants to listen to Luca. I don't get it, man. Like I'm just like I'm an Xbox guy, and I'm a live in the moment kind of guy too. So I'm living in the moment, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna do my best to kind of live in the moment. I'm enjoying my X. I'm enjoying the games that are coming. I'm excited for Gears 5 later this year, and that's cool. But you know,
I
yeah,
I kind of warned you about all this, man. Like a year back, like we're on multiple shows together, and
yeah,
it's fucking awesome, to talk games with you and Mooch and everything like that. And I tried to let you guys know like where these companies wanted to go, especially Xbox, like putting their foot in there first.
yeah.
So like that, you can see kind of like the evolution and what's going on now. This next generation, they're still going to cater, at least with like what people know traditionally with like consoles and stuff like that. They're coming out with the new console for people who like having the console next to their TV. But you see little bits and pieces of their plan and where they're stretching out, and how like Xbox is going to be everywhere, and it's not just a box, but it's a platform that will be on cell phones. It'll be on PC. It'll even with these rumors, it'll even be on the Switch and possibly Sony later on. Man, I tried to tell people, they didn't want to hear it.
Well, like for me personally, I kind of knew that it was,
You were in
an
denial.
yeah, like I mentioned, I was like, it does look like they're trying to be some kind of app or something, or some kind of like service, and I guess that's fine and all, but for me personally, that's not what the heart and soul of Xbox is, and it sounds very console fanboyish, but it's like, I just don't like that idea, you know what I mean? And here's the main reason, right? So I play, and you do this too. Like you play a lot of multiplayer games on Xbox, me too.
Oh yeah.
We're looking at like no matter what it says, it's not just like fanboys, and I've had this argument. It's not just fanboys. Like sales of stuff means direct correlation into who's playing that platform online. And I realize like people on phones and whatever are going to be able to play games online that are Xbox games, and there's going to be input lag, and there's going to be touchscreen lag and all this kind of. It's not going to be a good experience. So I worry about, as a competitive multiplayer type of gamer, I'm going to be matched up with those. Like, there's going to be less people to play natively on the Xbox platform, meaning I'm going to have to be forced to use crossplay, which is what Microsoft wants, to play against these scrubs on touchpads and the Nintendo Switch and all these little lesser platforms with all this input lag. And it's like, man, if I beat somebody, I want to know I beat them legitly. If I lose, I want to know I lost legitly. I don't want to beat somebody because they have crappy input controls and crappy lag, and they're streaming a game and they're skipping all over the place. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what I want. I want, a little bit more fair. I understand, like, hey, get ready for the future, whatever. Well, why not just do it Sony's route? Have your xCloud. I'm fine with that. But why is it got to be on the competing platform? The Nintendo Switch is a game console. So,
in terms of the in terms of the console, and this is where me and you kind of separate. Like, I know Switch is labeled a console. I look at it personally as a handheld. So I guess maybe that's why it doesn't mean as much to me as for people who look at it, and play it mostly on their TV and stuff like that. I can definitely see it. But, when it comes down to it with Game Pass, the Switch we have now, I'm not really concerned about it, because, if you want to download the games through Game Pass, like, how many people are going to be able to download the big games from Game Pass onto their Switch?
Yeah.
You don't have the memory to do that.
Yeah, it's just like, you hear Phil, and we on any device. He always says any device. He never specifies, well, no other consoles. And like I said, Hellblade go on the Switch. And then if you look at what In Exile Entertainment has said, when they were asked about putting future games on PS4, they said they're open to it. And Obsidian Entertainment, who was doing Outer Worlds, are already talking about a sequel, which would also be on, would be multiplat. Like, if I were to make a bold statement, and don't worry, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Hopefully, Xbox can stick around for a while.
I'm here, brother.
In terms of like these leaks and stuff, because I know we're going to talk about this stuff again tonight.
That's going to be great.
Yeah, like, it's going to be interesting, because I know like Boomstick and me and him were kind of going back a little bit too. I like the guy, but I think in terms of, if I had to make a bold prediction, I would say that these studios that Microsoft acquired, that by the time they release games, they're going to be on multiple platforms, right? Like, are they still considered exclusives to you, Xbox, if you can play them on Switch and PC and your phone and all that? I mean, literally, it seems like they're going to be playable on everything except for except for PlayStation, and that might even change.
When it comes to In Exile and those developers, first off, I don't know why the hell they're opening their mouths about this to begin with. They just got acquired. They are a first-party studio. They should just be like, we're focusing on, games to make for the platform. That's what you would think. The platform, we got hired to build for. That's what we're focusing on. And instead, they're like, yeah, no, we're open to this. We're open to that. No problem. And I don't understand why, like, anybody in those camps would do anything like that or say anything like that, even if they were possibly planning on doing something in the future that would be multi-plat, but under the Xbox Game Studio umbrella. You know what I'm saying? You got to let people know. They hyped up how many studios they brought in as first party. So you want to keep that hype rolling for your platform, for your brand. You know what I'm saying? And so I have no idea why they would say that. At the end of the day, I'm not really gonna jump on, yeah, they're definitely gonna make multiplats here or there or whatnot until it's actually said and done. Once it's announced that their next game is coming out and it'll be multiplat across the board, a game that they were completely under contract, they are completely in-house with Microsoft and with Xbox, and then they're like, yeah, we're coming out with this new game and it's going to be multiplat. Then you're going to hear me say something, but I'm not gonna jump on that train right now and start like saying, oh, well, they said this and they said that. I'm just going to sit back and just wonder, why the hell would you say anything like that, man?
Yeah, like it is a little bit weird to see that, but and it's interesting because I'm looking at Jez Gordon. He made a article about this on he works for Windows Central, and he was, of course he's really like, oh, it's a great idea, and I mean, of course,
shout out to Jez.
Yeah, I was just informing him. I just DM'd him because he put a typo. There was a typo in there, but yeah. So he's like, and again, he's jumping on that whole, like what he heard, and this is something I heard too, right? So he says that, that realistically, that he heard that this was going to happen over a year ago, and that, he said, if you look at what Phil Spencer said last year, and he quotes it, he says, this is Phil Spencer. So we built Xbox Game Pass. It started on console. It will come to PC, and eventually it will come to every device. We use the flywheel that we have with customers on an Xbox to start the growth in Xbox Game Pass. But as somebody sitting back and taking longer-term view of where our business is going, you should look at it as a business model that we think scales to billions of people, not hundreds of millions like retail does. Jez Gordon then says, I've also heard games like Ori and the Blind Forest and Cuphead may be test cases for new Xbox Live SDK for third-party developers, which will facilitate Xbox Live services on Nintendo Switch and mobile devices, which was previously restricted by Microsoft. So he also says he's been hearing for almost a year that Microsoft was aiming to put Game Pass on Switch and even PlayStation 4. Though at first he didn't believe it, at a surface level, why would Microsoft want to reduce its own console business by removing the need to buy Xbox hardware to play Xbox games? Yeah, so I mean, he goes on to say, which again, I had heard that too, like that they wanted to put it on PS4 and Sony was reluctant, but things might have changed now. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting here watching this. Hey, by the way, if you guys are watching, please hit the like button, share it out, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I got it. I got to do that as well, man. Can you believe I didn't do that? Holy crap.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. Just I do these impromptu things sometimes, man, and it's kind of fun. So, I think that, like Jez is talking about 5G and stuff like that. I think, hey, I would love 5G to cover me, right? Maybe my mind will change if I can play a game seamlessly like that, right? So for me personally, I don't think the hardware is going anywhere like right now.
No.
I think that it's going to be there. I just think there's going to be less people buying it than before. So, it does make it look irrelevant to a lot of people, right? Because if you look at the media, which I don't really like the media anyway, but the gaming media does make it sound like Xbox has no exclusives, right? We saw my Anaconda don't want none, remember, from Polygon?
Yeah.
So IGN says stuff like that. So the media spreads it out there to casuals and everybody that Xbox has no exclusives. And literally, yes, we can get it. Why would you buy a next Xbox? Well, you could buy the, I guess, which one is it? The Anaconda, if you want the most powerful hardware. And it's probably going to be expensive, the most expensive, because Microsoft doesn't really care if we buy it or not, right? Because they're like, okay, the hardcore will probably buy it, and then the less hardcore might buy Lockhart, or they might stream it through the Switch or a PC. You know what I mean? Like, they don't really care. They're all about the money going forward. And I think that it's that's a smart play for the money. I just think that as fans, man, especially, I feel like we've kind of suffered a little bit, in terms of,
when this generation, when everything was going good, that's when the media and kind of like the fanboys out there were talking about power and resolution. Like, nobody's like going back and saying how great those games were during that era, when that was the leg up that Sony had over Xbox, right? And then, Project Scorpio comes out. They kind of divert what little funds they had to make sure to get the more powerful console out, thinking that the gamers, they'll take like the patches and stuff from the older games, the games that that already were released but had like Xbox One X patches, and people will enjoy that. And then all of a sudden the narrative switched over to games. At the end of the day, we are getting new sets of hardware, and I think me and you, I think we're both in agreement that we're going to get the Anaconda. It's what's going to happen. You can look at this two ways. You can look at it like further down the road in terms of, what's going to happen with the home hardware after this fact, or you can look at it like, as they're expanding Game Pass, they're taking in revenue, and it's kind of, it's helping to finance my games that are coming out for my console. Like, if you're a hardcore traditional console gamer, you don't have anything to worry about here, because they're also pulling profits at other areas, kind of taking themselves out of the console war.
Yeah,
but you're still getting money invested into your platform.
The thing is, I heard that before, though, with like Play Anywhere, and we haven't really seen much come from there. Hey, what's up, Don?
What's up?
We didn't get the other side in on Play Anywhere. We didn't get where the PC games were coming over to Xbox either, that a lot of people said was going to happen. Now
it's official.
Yes.
Oh man, everyone's losing their minds recently. What's going
well,
on?
Here's the thing, like,
crazy.
I kind of expected this stuff, Don, but like, I maybe didn't expect to have them natively, I guess, ship games on on the Switch, and it looks like they're going to be doing a little bit of that
natively. I think
they're saying Ori 2, like Super Lucky Tale.
So the ones they can do natively, I got you.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. I mean, here's the thing is, Nintendo is selling a lot of hardware, but they're still holding the industry back.
Yeah, with weak hardware.
Yeah, weak hardware, weak online structure, all that sort of stuff. I mean, that's the harsh reality. I mean, anyone that looks at the Switch as a developer, you go, yeah, there's potential customers there. Like, and it's nothing against that group of people, but is it worth my time? And in what type of games can I port over to that console? And then the online structure holds a lot of that back. Yeah. So and you look at the hardware power of being more portable, like, even though you can dock its strength is its portability, and that limits it. So it becomes a strong contender for possibly streaming in regards to that. And that allows it to expand its library, and it allows it to kind of rising tides, help all ships out. That's kind of what we're looking at with Nintendo Switch. And I really, as somebody who used to play Nintendo games and don't play them anymore, I just look at that platform as something that holds the industry back, and they need a little help. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. What the heck is that? What do you got going on, Xbot? Damn.
That wasn't me.
Oh, okay.
That was not me. That was Don. Don, why didn't you speak up and say that wasn't me, man?
Well,
I can't confirm or deny what just happened.
Well, no, like, see, Don, like, you probably know a little bit more of this stuff. Like, do you also feel this way? Like, even though it would be Game Pass, like, because I was reading Jez Gordon's article, and he had heard that even PlayStation might be on board for Xbox Game Pass. You know, which the way they're kind of friendly lately, it wouldn't really surprise me. You know, but again, like, isn't there like sort of a disparity between playing against people if you're playing natively on Xbox versus people streaming like a multiplayer game and your versus or whatever? It seems like Microsoft just wants this big mismatch of like crap. You know what I mean? Like, I
Don,
remember back.
We're gonna have more noobs in Halo to take out, basically.
I know. Like, I remember
it would be like that, though. To be honest with you,
no, you don't see like.
Well, I see where you're coming from, but you have to take,
Yeah.
in order to get there, I have to take things out of context, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're just like, hey, everyone just plays together, no big deal, and the player bases stay the same on all the different devices we have out there that everyone's talking about, right?
Yeah.
Then, if it's just in that confines, then it's a problem, yes. But it's a couple of things are important here. That player base needs to expand. That expanding player base, and I think everything's going to grow. I think console market's going to grow.
Yeah.
I think streaming market's going to grow. I think these things are going to complement each other, not going to replace one another. That's always been kind of my philosophy on all this.
Yeah.
And if you have that vision and you see that growth, and if that's what you're betting on, things start making a little bit more sense. Then when it comes to, let's say, you want to be matched up with people with the same skill set, the interface is almost irrelevant. It is and it isn't. You get where I'm saying like that? If someone has the same, say, KD ratio as you or lands as many shots as you, but their interface is, let's say, a tablet, or their interface is a mouse, you want to be paired up with those individuals. So it really comes down to developers having better matchmaking, having, that's a big part of it. Because, like, here's the thing. I'm playing Crackdown right now, multiplayer. Guarantee a lot of those people are PC players, and I have no idea. No idea.
Yeah.
And the game mechanics also help bridge that gap too, of being a lock-on system. But you kind of get where I'm going with that. I want to be matched with people that, I don't want to be matched with anyone that's too easy or too much better than me. Because too much better, you get frustrated. You're not going to want to continue to play. Not enough pressure. It's going to make it feel like I'm bored and this is a walk in the park sort of thing. So it comes down to better matchmaking. I know Epic, and I work closely with those guys. They have a lot of tools, and they're building around the infrastructure around better matchmaking. Not only like the speed of your connection that helps dictate matchmaking, but you're also dealing with, not necessarily player interfaces, but you're also working with, whatever parameters you want to set to help you matchmake with a better person to play against. And they're working on that stuff behind the scenes because they're kind of a pioneer on this whole crossplay thing. So I see like where you're coming from, Crap, but I feel like there's more to it, and people just ignore what else is out there and where is this really going. So
yeah. Well, I mean, what is your thoughts on like the pay to play situation, right? Because obviously people on PC and Switch or mobile don't pay Xbox Live. We do, and it's a $2.5 billion a year thing for Microsoft. They want to keep that up. I feel like that's the reason why they're going to keep the hardware going, because that is a big it might even be 3 billion by now. I don't know, because they're hitting at all-time high on that kind of stuff. So do you, like, as a developer, like, do you think that's fair, or as a gamer that we're paying to play online, even free to play stuff, when even the Switch players don't do that, and certainly the PlayStation players don't? And they're going to get all of our games. And like, I don't know, I just feel kind of ripped a little bit. And I get, maybe that's the fanboy in me, right? Like, we sat there and suffered with nothing, freaking Halo Wars and PUBG.
You like Halo Wars too, man?
No, I like those games, but damn, man, when you look at what the competition was getting, we weren't getting those qualities. So we sit there and suffer with that stuff.
Dude, where's their real-time strategy? Huh? Where is their real-time?
That's not a big genre.
I'm messing with you.
but
I know.
I mean, to your point there, Crap, I think really what you're dealing with there is, if there's potential $4 million you can make, just break it down to like dollars and cents, right? So let's say the paywall of $2 million is getting in the way of getting $4 million. they're going to take if it's an either or situation, they're going to take the 4 million over the 2 million. And what I mean by that is the microtransactions they get a cut of, right?
Yeah.
Dirty word loot boxes, but those sort of things, right? The DLCs. If Xbox Live presents a situation where that creates a barrier not to obtain those things, then that becomes an issue. So the thing is, the more people you can get on live, the likelihood of that business model start to basically come to the surface, where you can realize, hey, we're losing more money by charging versus giving it to the user base for free. And I think that's the end goal ultimately at the end of the day. But you have to get so many seats in the butt, or butts in the seats, to get to that point. Sometimes you have to do one thing before the other group gets, and it sucks because, like, obviously Xbox gamers are early adopters of the service, right? In regards to that. So, and I think that's what Sony's business model is, to be honest with you, at free to play. They're like, I can do a paywall, but it's getting in the way of all this other money I could be receiving from this group of people. So
if I can ask you, Don, do you think that, with these kind of like rumors going on, if they're all gonna be true or whatnot, can you see at like E3 this year, Microsoft saying that you would no longer have to pay for live, like when the new, probably like when the new series of hardware comes out or something like that?
I mean, if they're going to do it, I mean, that's the time to shatter the industry right there, right?
Yeah, that's what I think.
That gets you the most attention. That makes you more pro consumer than any other company by doing that. And if that's their end goal, then yeah, maybe just like they did with Game Pass, tear off the Band-Aid. Just do it.
Yeah.
And get people reinvested in, regardless of what the device is. And I know some people are going to be upset when I say it that way, but I mean, that's kind of the future we're going towards in regards to that.
Well, I mean, you think Sony and Nintendo are going to do something similar to that?
Well, do you think they can compete in that space?
I don't actually. I don't think that they can.
So that's where Microsoft's got that edge, right? Like,
yeah,
we talked about like the whole streaming, and and I don't really think it's going to take over. I know Xbox feels opposite.
You want to fight, Don?
No, it's not. It's not about a fight. It's about intelligent conversations. But the harsh reality is, I think the industry is going to be dependent on Microsoft to be able to do that technology properly. At least that's the direction I see where they're trying to push things. They want dependency. Like anyone can do streaming, but just like anyone can do a video streaming service, everyone goes to YouTube for a reason, because it works a lot better than Vimeo, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it's the same sort of thing. So what they want is that dependency, and they know the dependency is totally relied on latency. And they also know that latency won't be the same as local hardware. That's why they're building local hardware. And so the way I look at it is like, let's say somebody that's never really willing to take that risk, or somebody was a gamer before, they're like, I'll just do the streaming service. I'll get on board there. Now they just brought another customer back into the fold of gaming. And then what happens is, when he starts getting beat occasionally by, say, he's doing 1v1 versus me, bot, and crap on Halo, and he's getting wrecked. He's like, oh, what are you guys playing on? Oh yeah, we do the local hardware. Then he's gonna be like, maybe I'll get myself an Xbox. Or maybe I should get myself a PC. Well, Xbox is easier. I'll get an Xbox, right? Some people will get a PC. So what I see that doing is it helps everything grow. And I don't really think it's going to be, hey, this takes away from this takes away from that. I really think that it really brings people, lost sheep per se, in gaming, brings them back into the fold and gets them playing again. I think that's important.
With all that being said, Crap, I hear what you're saying, and you are definitely making valid points. I don't want to make it sound like I'm telling you, Crap, you have nothing to worry about when you're saying that, the gamer pool will be watered down by more people playing these games streaming. And then not only that, these gamers will also be like, well, if I can play these games now, granted they're streaming, but why would I have to buy hardware? That would mean less people playing like on native hardware. Basically, like, just kind of like a mishmash of people all together, and that's what you're concerned about, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, that's one of the concerns, it's like, like, again, that's as an Xbox fan, and I see like some of the people, like I've known, like, like some of this stuff was coming because I had heard rumors like over a year ago, of, like I heard that Sony had turned them down originally, but that there was heat there with Nintendo, and I get that, right? Yeah, the Switch, it's portable. That's much more portable option than a phone. You know what I mean? It's got built-in controls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I definitely see the appeal there. Just for me personally, I see that as the start of something that I'm not really a fan of. And, I don't think the Xbox hardware is going away per se. I just think that it makes it less relevant for people to have to go out, to go out and sort of buy an Xbox, right? So that means less people. So I think that PlayStation will have an upper hand there, right? Because Microsoft is out there trying to be everybody's buddy because they look at everything as partners. And PlayStation, of course, PlayStation is going to play nice because they know that if they allow Game Pass, which is probably going to be a watered down version, maybe just Xbox exclusives or whatever. Like I was reading that possibility was what Nintendo gets out of having Game Pass on their platform is Microsoft publishing some games on the Switch, right? Like the Oris and things like that. Maybe there's some kind of deal like that can be had with PlayStation as well. It's like there's a reason why these consoles that we have 3 different consoles, it's like each of them are supposed to bring their own separate thing. But if you can get that thing that Xbox does on something else, why get Xbox? And people bring up sales. Like, I'm not a big sales guy, but you do need sales to a certain extent to warrant continuing on. If Sega had sold more Dreamcast, they'd still be making consoles. If Sunset Overdrive sold more copies, we'd have a Sunset Overdrive 2 or Quantum Break 2.
I still want a sequel to that, man.
I do too.
Oh my goodness.
So that's all I'm saying. Like, I'm never one to say that sales don't matter completely because I do think that they matter somewhat in terms of what we get down the road. And so I want to see Xbox continue to be successful. And it just sounds more and more like Zap. And not only that, but you see like, okay, so again, I was talking about how the media will do this. Polygon jumped in too. Why Xbox Game Pass on Nintendo Switch would be just the beginning. What if Xbox transformed from a console to an app? Like they're putting that out there already, right? So they're already making it seem like why bother buying an Xbox if you're going to be able to play these games via an app or on a Nintendo or maybe even a PS4 down the road or a smart TV or whatever, which is ironic because this is exactly what Sony did. You guys remember at the start of the generation, you could play PlayStation Now on a Blu-ray player, on Samsung TVs, on the Vita. They were the ones doing all this
wasn't
stuff
ready
before.
for it yet, though.
Yeah. I mean, you have to wonder if they really still are ready for it. Like, I think it's going to be interesting to see how that sort of plays out. Am I completely happy about it? Hey, I get it, guys. It's just rumor stuff right now. I get it. TLR9 says no one will buy Xbox hardware if Game Pass is on PlayStation and Nintendo. Why? Because you can have all the Microsoft exclusives and Sony's on PlayStation. I agree. I agree to an extent. Here's the thing. I've known PC gamers who are only PC gamers because they have a cheaply built PC. And this isn't everybody, right? Like, I know there's PC gamers that are serious and they have the top of the line stuff and can play things better than we ever could dream of. I get that. I'm talking about the ones that are very budgeted and they play everything on the lowest settings just to play it. Those people are going to be perfectly fine streaming an Xbox game. You know what I mean? There's no real need to go out and get an Xbox 2 or whatever they're going to call it. And Don, do you even know, are they going to still do forward compatibility, do you think?
I haven't seen anything that says that they're not. But then again, them being quiet doesn't mean anything, right? It just means they're not ready to talk about it at this point in time. So
because I was asking around about that too, right? I was like, well, if they do forward compatibility, which they have to do some kind of limited at least or cross-platform or cross-gen, because the X isn't that old. You know, we all paid $500 for this thing. We should be able to get a version of that, right? Like, where do the games come into play? Like, are they going to be the same games for the next gen stuff? Are they different boxes? I mean, like PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 boxes will be different. They'll eventually phase out the PlayStation 4 ones, I'm guessing. And I don't know. Like, for me, I guess I'm a dinosaur. I like, and I know like Noof Nukem, there's other people like me, but it's always so weird because I don't go on social media a lot anymore. And when I do, and something like this happens, and I don't know, I guess it just kind of grinds my gears a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
well, it does. It's perfect world scenario here. Perfect world scenario is hardcore console gamers will still be looking to pick up the console. When it comes down to it, having Game Pass, possibly, streaming with the Switch, because like I said, how can you download an Xbox One game onto a Switch? They don't even have the memory capacity to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, having games being streamed on multiple devices could do exactly what Don said. They're getting into it. They're liking the game. They're getting their ass kicked by us in like Halo and Gears, and they're like, you know what? Maybe I should invest, in the local hardware.
Maybe my flip phone's not cutting it anymore, is what you're trying to say?
your Motorola Razr is just not kicking it anymore, man. But that's the perfect world scenario. And you still got investment in the hardware. You're still coming out with games. If you prefer the native hardware and you prefer playing it, with a console next to your TV, they're not gonna ignore you, and everything else around is putting money back into the platform, so you get more games to play it how you want to play it. I think that's the perfect world scenario.
I mean, I get what Microsoft is doing, and I think it's kind of admirable. They want to grow the industry, I guess, but it sometimes just comes off as money grubbing to me. You know what I mean? Like,
it's both. It's both, brother.
Let me put it this way. So you guys know how what's the percentage of Apple computers versus Microsoft Windows computers?
Oh, I think it's pretty low.
It's pretty low, right? It's like less than 10%, right? Or somewhere in that window. It's just, for argument's sake, it's right around there, right?
Yeah.
How did Microsoft kick Apple's ass?
They just put out easier. It was easier to use.
Did they build PC, or did they build a technology that drives things behind the scenes and then became partners with Dell, HP, fill in the blank, right?
Yeah.
That's how they won. That's how they destroyed Apple. Now, they're not done. So what did they do? They decided to release their own hardware because there's a market for it, right? And even that does really good in comparison to Apple dedicated hardware. There's no reason for them to make a Surface. They don't have to. They have zero reason to make a Surface.
Yeah.
But they do. Because there is a customer out there. It keeps them engaged in their product. This is like in the window of my mind and what's going on and how this stuff works, right? And yes, they want to own everything cloud-based out there. They want to own that. That's their goal on cloud. That's the reason why. And so now, where does that relate to gaming, right?
Yeah.
Gaming is, they want to be everywhere. They want to take over everything. They want to, when you think about gaming, or you think about sports, right? You think about Nike, right? When you think about gaming, you want you to think about Xbox. Xbox is the first thing that comes to your mind. So that's getting on every single device. That's seeing that logo pop up every single time. When you have the streaming services that are there, what it's starting off as, and most likely majority of it will be this, is it's subsidizing the cost of that hardware being in those facilities. Because it's like a bunch of employees standing around doing nothing, but you're paying for them, right?
Yeah.
So now if you can generate revenue by the idle hardware that's there, then you can make more hardware. Then you can start squeezing out the Amazons. You can start squeezing out the Googles. There's a reason why Google and Amazon are going those routes as well, because they don't want to be squeezed out. They want to be able to maximize the hardware they have in their server farms. That's how that works. Now, on what we've already saw a peak of with xCloud, they were showing, obviously just a little CG demonstration, disassembling Xbox One S's and put them in a server blade. Now, my best guess, each one of those server blades is per streaming client. So what that means is you have 4 Xboxes. So they minimize the predictive rendering not to 8, not to 6, to 4. Okay, so this is the reason why it's more expensive to stream, right? Costs more electricity, that sort of thing. But what happens is they continue to grow their hardware business. That, I guarantee, that same business model of the hardware we can buy on our television is going to be the same thing they're going to be able to put in the server blades going forward. So allows them to invest more into your local hardware, and also vice versa. And these things start subsidizing each other's cost in a lot of different ways. And so And what happens at that point is you can have your cake and eat it too. You basically, I mean, everything in gaming kind of subsidizes everything at Microsoft. Microsoft just didn't realize it. The higher ups, as far as that goes. A lot of the technology that drives some stuff that make the latest and greatest games, AI, all that sort of stuff, that all comes from gaming. So that's where I'm seeing. I see a very bright future for all gamers.
Yeah.
I really do. Now, that's just me looking at everything there. But if you've been a gamer and you've been around for a long time, things have changed. Things are still changing.
Definitely a shock to the system right there.
Yeah, it totally is. And so that's why I'm saying, like, with time, people are going to understand these things. When I say streaming, there's going to be an audience for it. But
yeah. No. I totally get that, right? Because Netflix, like years ago, I would have never thought people would stop going to Blockbuster and watch things on Netflix. You know what I mean? And like we do. And not only that, but the thing is Netflix doesn't even do like the newest stuff, right? It's like if something just comes out, realistically, you would think going to a Blockbuster would still be the best option, but it's not. Like Netflix doesn't get stuff day and date anymore. So like that to me kind of throws me off. I just think this generation has been more changed than any other generation.
Oh yeah,
as this guy that just has, I've been console gaming since like 1986. So it's like, this is a little bit difficult, I guess, a little tough pill to swallow. Like, okay, you want to stream stuff. I get that. I think that's smart. You can reach gamers that aren't that, like to me, that's like this bubble outside of what we are.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I get that there's like different sections. And I think streaming is trying to reach that bubble that's not that 200 million people that play on consoles, and I think that's great. It does help grow the industry, but at the same time, seeing Gears of War on a PlayStation, or a Switch through streaming just seems so sacrilegious to me.
I could see that from your point of view. One thing, another thing I got to say about streaming, because we're talking about rumors here and whether or not they're true or whatnot. So we got to bring that whole Google console rumor into the mix as well.
Weird. I told you about that on Next, didn't I?
Yeah, and we're actually going to talk about it as well. But the whole thing is like today, day and date, now into the near future, people are not ready to just see all of a sudden like hardware go away and everything is streaming. And even Google knows this as well. And there's a rumor that they might be coming out with or announcing their console this year. So with that being said, the hardcore console gamers, you're gonna hear news like this, and it's really gonna be, like me and Don said, a shock to the system. But at the end of the day, you're still getting your hardware. The companies still realize that native hardware still needs to be out there, and I think in the future, like down the road, that's where you might run into the speed bump after a while.
Yeah, look, and like I said, I tend to live in the now because who knows what's going to happen years from now. Like, I don't know. I enjoy the
Crapgamer could have a cooking YouTube channel.
I could, man, cooking with crap. What are we cooking today? We got brownies and we got
dude. I got
starting to be domesticated pretty quickly here. I hear.
I am frittatas. It's hey, I actually am a cook. She always says to me, she's like, I thought you said you could cook really well, and I'm like, because I never cook when I'm over there. I'm just like, I don't know. It's like it's different when you're over somebody else's place. You don't really like, I don't know where things are. I don't know. It's like, so I haven't really done much cooking there, but I can actually cook pretty good. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about some of these leaks that come out, the E3 stuff, because I found this to be interesting because I didn't think they talk about the new consoles at this E3. So even Brad Sams is tweeting out. He says June Microsoft will be heading to Los Angeles where they'll be hosting its E3 keynote. And even though Sony won't be there, Microsoft is not holding back on making significant announcements. They're going to be shipping its next-gen consoles in fall of 2020, but the company is preparing to talk more about the hardware this year at E3 2019, according to people familiar with the company's plans. Don't expect to hear pricing yet, but the company wants it to be known that they are moving full steam ahead with the upcoming Lockhart and Anaconda devices that will begin to peel back the onion on these two devices. Last year, they teased Halo Infinite, and the title will be a launch game for the upcoming hardware with a brand new game engine, and the team behind the game is trying to make a story adapt to decisions the users makes, and the game may have more RPG elements than prior versions of the series. What else the company's talking about? Game Pass will receive a few updates this year, of course. Expect the company to highlight the new titles coming to the platform as well. There's rumors that we're going to be hearing about the possible Playground Games game, as well as the Ninja Theory exclusive as well. So French website reported that Lockhart and Anaconda will in fact be there. And they also leaked some specs, which would be Anaconda CPU custom 8-core 16 Zen Thread 2 GPU custom Navi 12 plus teraflops RAM, 16 gigs of GDDR6 storage, 1 terabyte NVMe 1 plus gigabyte solid state drive as well. That Xbox consoles will be released by the end of 2020. Halo Infinite launch title, and Microsoft still has high profile titles in the pipeline for Xbox One, as Gears 5 will be one of the main focuses. Ninja Theory's first title as part of his Xbox Game Studios should be released at the beginning of next year. So they're going to show that. Yeah. So that's according to, and these are well known because Brad Sams, obviously, and this guy from this French site, realistically, sort of just kind of blows you away. Now, I kind of called some of this stuff. We all said it makes sense for Halo Infinite to be a launch title. I'm just curious what you guys kind of think about that, because it does make it very appealing, a launch title with the next Xbox. I mean, that could possibly still be a system seller.
What I'm really excited about, first off, I having Halo as a launch title when you're coming out with new hardware should be a no-brainer. Now, I know like development cycles never really kind of like added up to that happening, with 360 and all that good stuff, but it is really good to hear. But to hear the changes for the first time in a Halo game, they're trying to build it around what decisions you make will kind of change the story in a certain direction and go wherever, like you choose, the choices that you make as Master Chief. That there has me drooling for the game already. Like, I can't wait to get in on that story and see what's going on with that. But I'm excited for that. I don't know. Don, the first time we ever met, we were playing Halo multiplayer, man. So what do you think?
I'm still kind of iffy on both Gears and Halo right now, to be honest with you. You asked me where
kick him out.
Yes, no, you asked me where I'm concerned. These are some of my favorite franchise on the platform, and to be honest with you, they have to prove to me that these changes make sense with those franchises. They may totally do. But from the outside looking in, not being on the floor, not being in those meetings, I don't know. And I know 343 is super talented. It's not like they're not talented people. They know what they're doing. It's just, does it work? And then the question is, and this is the problem with any popular franchise, is sometimes when they make changes, it just splinters the community. And they don't embrace change. And so I'm a little bit worried about that too, to be honest with you, because Bot exposed me to this. I didn't even realize these people didn't existed. There are people that want Halo either be Halo 2 or Halo 3 forever.
Halo 3 every single
I know
time.
people love that Halo 3. I went back and play it. You can't run. You can barely move. It's like you're in quicksand.
Oh my gosh. We did Legendary with me, K Mega. It was live, and it was, I think Flip Money was there. It was pretty good.
I turned them down. They're like, do you want to do Legendary Halo 3? I'm like, no, I'm good.
I figured that's the only way to make it fun again is have a good group of people, right? So so we played through it, and me and Mega, like everyone kind of dropped out before we finished, and it was just like me and Mega were just trying to muscle through that. And my gosh, it was so painful. We were just like, K Mega's like, I'm about to fall asleep. Just finish the last part where you go to the ship, and drive the Warthog. He's just like, just keep on going. It's just like he just wanted to be done. So I mean, and I like the art style of 3 a lot. Not 3, but 4 and 5 the best.
Yeah,
to be honest with you, and
I like 4 tremendously. You know what I mean? I really thought they did a good job with that. Hey, if you guys are watching, closing in on 400 on a just random stream, I appreciate it. Hit the like button. I really appreciate it if you guys share it out and stuff like that. Here's the part that throws me off a little bit, Don and Xbot, is the Lockhart specs, which is, I don't know, maybe this wouldn't be as important with the custom 8-core 16 Zen Thread 2 for the CPU, but the custom Yeah, the GPU says Navi 4+ teraflops. That's less than the Scorpio has.
That rumor's been floating around for a while, I think, too.
Yeah, I just oh yeah. So it says he also talked about the specs that were released late last year, saying they're very close to the real ones. So that's very interesting. Why wouldn't you just make the X the base console at that point then?
Well, from what I understand, the Navi architecture is a lot more efficient across the board. So we know, we're pretty sure we know PlayStation's doing it. We know Xbox is doing it across the board on both systems. So, so the teraflop number, yes, it is a certain amount of compute within a certain time frame, right?
Yeah.
But what I understand, the chipsets are running way more efficient from what I'm getting. So that may be the same performance profile as the 6 teraflop one. The same thing goes with Sony. Whatever they end up doing, like far as Navi architecture and whatever that teraflop performance is, expect way more efficiency with that with Navi. So that starts making a little bit more sense. Just like the chipsets are smarter is what best way to describe to it. So it's just getting a lot more intelligent about how they manage render loads and stuff like that. So
Don, I got to ask you, with Navi not necessarily being announced yet, and because everybody has speculation, can we really speculate on the actual like T flop, like that actual number yet? Because people out there in the media and stuff might not know exactly what is underneath when it comes to Navi, how they're making it more efficient and everything like that. So wouldn't it be really kind of like skeptical just to say any kind of number when it comes to the graphical power yet?
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't mean the same thing that it used to, as far as I understand.
It's just kind of like the old blueprint to try to determine when
it's going to mix things up on the PC side of things too. Like Navi is going to it's going to be very much what Ryzen was to CPUs was when AMD released. I think Navi is going to be that for AMD on the GPU side of things. We'll see where it lands as far as all that stuff goes. But everything I've been told is incredibly more efficient. We're talking like 3 to 4 times more efficient.
Okay.
So,
but I mean, wouldn't that assume that's going to be kind of the end of the forward compatibility talk, though? Just for the simple fact that they're going to be completely different, like different architectures and things like that.
It's still based on the x86. So it's how it's controlled is the same. So it's kind of like you still put gasoline in your car, even though it's a 4-cylinder or an 8-cylinder, right?
Yes.
So it's the same sort of thing. It's not really that big of a deal on that sort of thing. I just don't think the newer stuff is going to be held up by the old stuff and vice versa. Just how games are developed. If games were developed from trying to squeeze it into the lowest powerful box from the bottom up, then I would get that argument. That's how games used to be. But now games are the opposite. Games are built on more powerful hardware and scaled down to what fits within that performance profile.
Yeah, I mean that's very, very interesting stuff. Like for me personally, I think that like I like the tech aspects of stuff, so I'm very excited to see what Microsoft has to offer. Actually Sony too, because I've heard from multiple people that they're like, a lot of people are talking about how Xbox is dead and stuff like that. Wait till you see the specs of Anaconda versus the PS5. That's going to put any of that stuff to bed.
I'm not so sold on that, to be honest.
No?
No, I think there's like this thing where people think PlayStation 5 is going to roll over in its grave and not try hard. Like, they're going to try. They're going to try their very best. They may not have the same resources. So if Microsoft is able to throw the right resources, I mean, a lot of people blame Kinect for the reason why the original Xbox was underpowered. No, they made the wrong choice on RAM. That's what killed it. It wasn't the peripheral. It was RAM.
Yeah.
They used a lower powerful RAM. They thought they were going to have more RAM because they underestimated where RAM was going to be at the point in time. And they made that choice to put the ES RAM. I forgot what RAM they were using on the onboard chip. They embedded it into the GPU side of the chip, and that took up so much space on the die that's why it had a less powerful GPU. I think Microsoft was just placed the wrong bets this time around, and I think this time they're not taking chances. But I don't think PlayStation's taking chances either. I think they're both going for gold. They both want it.
Yeah, but you don't think that Xbox is gonna put out, because I've heard that Sony might only do the one SKU where Microsoft is doing multiple.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think Sony's gonna want to have something in that price range that they're more comfortable with, like $399? Because Anaconda sounds like it's gonna be $499 all day, if not a little bit.
The question is, are they able to subsidize enough by taking those same consoles and put them in a server blade as well? Right.
Yeah.
So that makes you wonder if they're able to rationalize and get better buying power than, say, their competition at launch of their hardware.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing if you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, again, I just think that, algorithm says supporting the wedding as much as possible. My guy, I appreciate it, man. I really do,
bro.
Man. Stuff's
Yeah.
It's expensive. Thankfully, she's quite thrifty, and yeah, she is. She's like already like, look, I got this, and I can get this for cheaper than this, and I can make this. You don't even need to buy that. I'm like, hey, that's cool.
This. Nice.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, dude, and I'm like, hell yeah, like she's super thrifty and able to do that kind of stuff. So that makes me extremely happy.
Why do
please
I
hit that like button.
WWF wedding?
No, not WWF. It's actually, she's really into like Wonder Woman and comics and stuff like that. So more maybe possibly comic related than anything. Gotcha. You know what I mean? So yeah, like it's actually coming together pretty cool. Some interesting stuff there, and yeah, like I'm very excited by that. In case you guys can't tell,
could be an usher.
Xbox could be an usher. We could let's get Mooch over here, but he's only going to do it if there's an open bar. There's this whole thing, you know what I mean? It's this whole thing. But you know what? Also, Don, have you heard any more about this discless console? Because that was supposed to come out the first part of this year, and we're rapidly approaching March, and we haven't heard anything about it. Do you think it's one of those instances where they announced it or it leaked out and maybe got canceled? Or
I hope it got canceled, man.
I hope it got canceled too, because it's confusing. It doesn't make sense if you're coming out with new hardware next year.
Thank you.
I bet you there's a kernel of truth to it, but I don't think. My guess is not new hardware without a disk drive. I think really what I picture, and this is not rumor or speculation, just me guessing, is it came from the fact that I think they're going to try to do a trade-in program with your physical copies to digital if you want to do it.
Yeah,
I think that part is still on the table.
Okay,
and if there's any truth to that rumor, that's the part I think I see going through, which I'm looking forward to, because a lot of times people buy me a disc because it's just easier for them to do that as a gift, right?
Yeah,
and then I'm like, damn it, I have to get up every time, put Halo 5 in every time I want to play with the Xbox, and it's like such first world problems. And then the disc drive doesn't reset, I have to hard reset it. Like it just. That whole process, like I'm ready to move to digital. I've always been that way, but it was just always easier for people to have people gift me stuff. So
yeah,
I kind of have a mixed bag because of it. So
yeah, I can understand that. It's like for me, I was all, as you guys know, man, and I changed how I feel about things depending on. I mean, I'm legit about it. I hated VR at first, and now I love it. I hated digital games at first because I was so used to you have a game and then and now I'm digital, and I mean I'll still occasionally buy a physical game if it's like a collector's edition or something. Oddly enough, for some reason I buy physical a lot on PlayStation still and Switch, obviously, because I don't trust Nintendo with my digital stuff. But yeah, so for PlayStation I'll still buy physical stuff because some reason in the back of my head I'm like, I can always sell all this stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can always pull a UX bot, just dump my PlayStation and and not have to worry about it anymore. Exactly, but it's like for me, it's funny, right? So like eventually I'll be moving, and I'm gonna take my Xbox with me, and I got all these games. But the funny thing is, I have all these games on external hard drives, so I don't gotta pack up like physical 800 discs. Nice. It's just I mean I have 120 discs or something like that. So because at the beginning of the year, this gen for sure, right? And then I remember once I found out you could game share and I could game share with Hellhammer, man, it was a wrap. It was like, who wouldn't want to do that? You know what I mean? Like they made it so much easier to kind of do that. You know what I mean? And hey, this is the guy that was really I didn't mind Microsoft's original idea where you could possibly share with up to 10 people, or as a collector, you know, you buy the game, you the disc, and then you install it, and then you didn't need it. You can just put it on your shelf or whatever. I really like that. If you guys were interested in what we were talking about a little bit about the Game Pass rumors about it going to Nintendo Switch and possibly even PlayStation. So I was talking to somebody, and I'm not sure they wanted me to mention who they were, just like a minute ago, and they said that they had heard that last E3 that Microsoft was going to announce Game Pass going to the Switch and PlayStation 4, and then it ended up not happening, but that it's likely that that could happen this year. Like PlayStation 4, man, Don, what do you think about that? Like, do you think that Microsoft could really team up with Sony and do that?
You wonder what the end game is, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
where the money is. Like, there's an end game for Microsoft. I just don't know how that business model works with Sony and how they're structured and that sort of thing. You know, Sony may go the route of, hey, you know what? You know, what I would like to see is like some sort of partnership along the lines of, hey, if you release something on Sony's platform, but it's say it was working on Xbox, right? So Sony's ecosystem on Microsoft's Xbox, you would see Microsoft get a small cut of that, and then Sony would get the majority of the cut, and then vice versa. That's where I see kind of that going, where they're kind of worked out some sort of percentage deal on their cut of the platform, because they're providing the hardware, but you know, let's say Microsoft's providing the technology and vice versa. I would like to see that sort of thing hashed out, but I just don't see that happening. But you know, stranger things have come out about, and you know, we'll see where it goes. I mean, obviously they're friends for a reason. I mean, they're not. A lot of times people are like, "Oh, Unity candles," and really critical.
Kumbaya.
Yeah, there's a couple people here that've been very critical about that, but the harsh reality is, we all know there's an end game for what they're doing. The question is, for the longest time, what is that end game? And I'm kind of curious to see where that goes. In regards to, as long as I can have hardware to release my content on, what percentage Sony and Microsoft divvy up behind the scenes, I don't give a crap. That's their money. Like, I don't care. If you want to play on a Sony box, like, you know, and that, you know, and that's an issue because you're an Xbox guy. Xbox should send a sticker that covers up the button to everybody that does it on that console, and vice versa. Like, you know, it's just a chipset. You know, at the end of the day, it's just a chipset and it's a controller.
But it does make these things like relevant, though, right? I mean, like the games that they get. Let's be honest, right? If at the beginning of the generation, everybody was so mad at Microsoft that the exclusives didn't matter, and I think that's what I've taken away from that. What people kind of explain it to me, I'm like, Xbox had more exclusives, and they'll go, but it was $100 more, you know, for the first 4 or 5 months, and you know what I mean, and they had pissed everybody off to the point where nobody wanted to trust them or buy into what they were doing, and you know, if you put your games on everything else, I think that does limit what you can offer to the fans and things like that. And I think they're going to have the best hardware, but according to you, Don, maybe not as case closed as what I think.
No, yeah, I mean, I know they're going to go for it, but I mean, like the most interesting thing about that spec, and I don't know if that spec's really true, to be honest with you. I don't have much weight into what they've presented. Is the M.2 drive they claim they all have in regards to that. That one's a little suspicious, to be honest with you. But it'd be cool if it had it. But you know, it's basically there's. Well, I don't know how much you know about computers, crap, because you openly admit that you know you only know some stuff, not all.
Yeah, like I like some stuff. Yeah, like
so you know mechanical hard drive, you know solid state, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so M.2 is the solid state of solid state. What I mean by that is actually the data transfer rate of an M.2 is dramatically faster than a traditional solid state drive. For example, my current computer, the OS is run off the M.2, so it's almost instantaneous with running any task or any program because of that. So one of the things with when you're talking about AMD's new CPUs or the Ryzen series, right?
Yeah.
The way the memory controller works on that chipset, and that's current generation stuff out right now, not necessarily what's been predicted in the future. It can pull information straight from that M.2 drive straight into the game, bypassing the RAM altogether.
Okay.
So, like, that's the thing is if it's really fast memory, the AMD is stated is any form of fast memory, the memory controller will calculate all that sort of stuff, so you can get a lot more performance out of that in that sort of way. But that stuff's expensive. It's like the size of a stick-up piece of gum, but it's not cheap. It tries to cost a lot. Like I hope it has that, but
Xbox. Don't you have the Xbox One hybrid, or was it the what was that? The original Xbox One that had a solid state drive in it?
Yeah, I had the quote unquote elite with the hybrid drive, and people in the house, because we have multiple Xbox Ones, and that was before I got my Scorpio. But people were jealous in the house because they saw how fast I was downloading games. They saw how fast games loaded up compared to like snaps, like original Xbox, and even later on the kids. Now the elite isn't doing anything besides sitting in the living room, and the 11-year-old twins, they want us to trade out the fat boy that they have there for the elite one. But it was definitely it was quicker. It's definitely quicker.
Yeah. Now, how do you guys feel like, I mean, because everybody has their own kind of opinions on this stuff. Like how I feel about this stuff. Like, are you guys pretty respectful of those opinions and things like that? Like, like I'm kind of old school. So obviously being able to play Xbox games on a PlayStation or Nintendo doesn't seem right to me. And it seems almost like a slap in the face, especially, can you imagine Gears 5 launching day and date on Game Pass on PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch? Like, I got a big old Gears tattoo, guys. What the hell?
It's definitely like it's a shell shock right there if it does happen that way. The only thing I can say is, like, when it comes down to it, I don't see. I feel like the only places you'll be able to play it like natively on your native hardware would be either Xbox console or PC. And I think everything else is more like a streaming type thing. Because like I said, with the Switch, it just doesn't have the memory for you to download the game on it. And I know PS4 does, but I don't see.
It doesn't run the same OS. It doesn't run the same drivers. It doesn't run so it has to be.
It has to be server based. Like the server has to run it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well. So like this is funny because I'm reading this. And this is like a newer update from WCCF Tech. An update from the French game. Yeah. From that same French website, they report that a quote high-profile Microsoft franchise will release on the Switch natively. According to the website, this could be Forza, Halo, or Gears. Whether this will be an Xbox One or Xbox 360 release is unknown. The site also claims that Ori and the Blind Forest is indeed coming to Nintendo's hybrid platform alongside 2017's Cuphead. Additionally, it's being reported that more than 100 Xbox games will be available on the Switch through the Game Pass Project X Cloud. So
it is Project X Cloud. So like
those are going to be streaming. But it also says that a high profile, like, because obviously all the exclusives would be included in streaming, right? But they're talking about a specific high profile game is going to release on the Switch natively, being either Forza, Halo, or Gears. Now, whether or not that's a new Gears game or an old Gears game, I'm not really sure that's going to be able to.
It's a Gears character in Super Smash Brothers.
Is it? I mean, like that could be it. I don't know, but I do think it's interesting. I also think it's interesting that there was a lot of Xbox dudes that like were very happy about this, like clapping, like yay, and I'm just like, I don't know, I don't really know how to feel. Like maybe if it were able to download and play, but you can't do that, like streaming is out of the question for me.
So
anytime soon.
So it's not the same experience, right? Like at the end, that's what it really boils down to.
Crap, I know which one it is. Recore is going to Switch.
Oh my god, I can only hope. Hey, dude, give him that IP completely. That game is just so bad. And you know what? Just knowing my luck and how much I hate that game, Microsoft would probably make that the one that gets a sequel this gen, right? Like out of all the games we could have got a sequel to,
launch title, launch title for Scarlet, man.
We want Rise. We want Rise 2. We want Sunset 2, or I would love Quantum Break 2, but no, we're gonna probably get Recore 2. Like that. That's just kind of my luck that I would just be like, oh my god, here we go. You know what I mean?
Again, when it comes to the Switch, I think about like the power underneath the hood. I think about like how much memory you can actually have in there. Natively, I know you can put in, memory cards to increase that or whatnot, but even then, it's really constrictive on its power base and on its memory supply. So with that being said, I'm like, I know they said like either Halo, Forza, or Gears, and I'm like, which one of those would be small enough memory wise that it could run natively on the Switch? And I don't see any of them being.
It would have to be Ori. Ori would be the only thing I could think of.
But they said Ori within that, though. They said Ori's already like coming, this and that, or whatnot. So, like, the only other game I could think of that might possibly would be Recore, man, to be really honest with you, yeah.
It could be Gears Pop. Who knows? I mean,
Gears Pop.
There you go.
Gears Tactics. Watch Gears Tactics be announced on Switch before it's actually announced to.
I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case at all. But here's the thing: like, let's think of it as a gamer. Okay, all right, you're a fan of Xbox. I get it. Yeah. But isn't everyone still a little bit of a fan of Nintendo to a certain degree?
Hey, I'm a fan of Nintendo. Like, to me, if like I'm torn about it because I do like Nintendo. I have a Switch. I even bought a Wii U. I still have it.
You have a Switch. You have an Xbox. Would you rather play those Nintendo games on a Switch or an Xbox?
I would rather play the Nintendo games on my Xbox.
Okay, so that's where I'm kind of going with this. So I like Nintendo games, but I'm not really a huge fan of their hardware.
Yeah,
just who I am, but I do think they make good quality titles. I just don't want to play it on that platform. So if this is the precursor that allows me to start getting some Nintendo games down the road, and I thought this was kind of a crapshoot,
Don't go down this alley, Don.
I don't think it's 4 or 5 years ago. I don't think that was possible, but I think it is a possibility.
Play anywhere.
Well, it's not just play anywhere. Like here's the thing: is like you think about what Nintendo's going through with their investors. Their investors are on their case to get products on other devices. On their case. That's why we got Pokemon Go. That's why we got all these things on the phone side of things. They're testing these markets. Mm-hmm. If Microsoft presented something that works for Nintendo and works for their investors, maybe there's something to that. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow or anything like that.
To help them with their chat on the Switch.
Well, I mean, I'll take that alone, to be honest with you, because it holds the industry back, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm kind of going with this. Is like, okay, let's bring Nintendo a little bit to the forefront, and and yes, we may have to make some sacrifices early on, but the long-term game, there's hope there going forward, and that's the way I look at it. And sometimes you just gotta play your long game, and that's how Microsoft does things. They play long game.
Don, you are a rebel, brother, because like there was no way I would be like, yeah, well, down the road might be able to play that Zelda on Xbox because
I'm not placing that bet. Don't get me wrong, but this opens the door and the opportunity for these things to possibly occur. And that's
like I said, just the way Play Anywhere, we could get more PC games over on Xbox, and that hasn't really fleshed itself out.
No,
what I'm saying?
But what we have gotten from that perspective is we've gotten games that actually use the performance profile of the Xbox One X. And that is a byproduct of doing PC support and getting developers on board with those sort of things. So
okay. So like kind of like behind closed doors, like it helped out a lot.
It really did help out a lot. But the thing is, like, we look at the immediate results. So like, and I don't blame gamers for doing that, but the reality is that those benefits of us getting X enhanced games is because of that. And because basically developers are used to doing the different performance profiles for PC and getting them reused to doing that as well. So we have seen benefits of it. Just we haven't seen the full vision of what Microsoft obviously wants, but we have seen bits and pieces of it already. So
yeah. I mean, that's interesting. Like, what do you think they would bring a 3? Like, I don't think that, I don't know, but because Don, you would know, could they possibly bring a older Forza title from the Xbox One to the Switch, or would you think it would be a 360 version or a scaled down version with UWP or something?
Oh, the performance profile of the Switch is weird, right? It's just under the bar where it's hard to scale to that low of a level, right? If you look at the base Xbox, base PlayStation 4, there's a lot of room to play around with, mostly because of the virtual memory that's in the system, or RAM per se. So that's really the big thing that allows those consoles to continue to be around and continue to get better looking, even with more powerful hardware on the market. Switch is just under that, and so it's a little weird. I think really the only realistic way to get Switch to play a game with the big boys is to stream.
Yeah, so you don't think you think it'll be something like Ori and Cuphead and some of those other ones?
Maybe Sea of Thieves. I can see that.
Oh, Sea of Thieves. I didn't think about that. Yeah, because I mean,
the performance profile of Sea of Thieves on PC can go lower than what the Switch is. So that is a exceptional game in that situation, but that's not the norm.
Dude, you just almost made me drop my coffee, man. Like I didn't even think about that crap. Did you even think
No, what's funny was because I originally thought the Sea of Thieves, right? Because I interviewed Craig Duncan on M&C a while back, like right before Sea of Thieves launched, and I joked around because there was that article about how you could run it on a potato if you wanted to, and I said, "Oh, is that for the Nintendo Switch?" And he kind of laughed and was like, "No, we're not putting it on the Switch." You know what I mean? But I always thought that there was something interesting and funny up with that whole Nintendo Switch thing, because I remember Microsoft, they were all like, "Happy Switch Miss" and all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like to me, I understand the business sense of it, but as an Xbox fan, it's a little bit tough to swallow at times. You know what I mean? Just I'm sure I'll probably get more and more accustomed to it.
Well, I mean, as time goes on, when you start realizing that your hardware is not going anywhere, right? Like only time will tell all this stuff, right? If you realize hardware is not going anywhere, you realize your games continue to get better. You realize your games are not being held back by lesser hardware. You have more of these games being produced because there is a bigger audience out there now. You know, I think when you look at it from that perspective, I think you'll have a different outlook on it. But in the here and the now, it's them being transparent about all the big risks they're taking.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, I can see from other people that don't understand what's going on there and only see bits and pieces. And then this is where I've criticized Microsoft myself, is they're not very good at laying it all out in their timing and how they do things, right?
No, not at all, dude.
So what they do is they give you a glimpse, and then what happens is people's imaginations run wild.
Yeah.
What they need to do is show the whole picture of what they're trying to do, because you're targeting not just one audience. You're targeting a much broader audience than you ever have before. So you do have to approach it in that sense. So like I'll use the Gears example as the best way of how to announce something. You look at last E3 with Gears. If they just showed the pop, or just showed the strategy, or any one of those three games, the Gears community would have blown up on Microsoft.
Yeah.
The fact that they showed all three at once, you realize I'm still getting my traditional Gears. It's better looking than ever. And they have these other franchises. And then the narrative turned to, why in the hell are we not getting those other smaller franchises?
Yeah, for real.
So that's what happens when you do that. So they need to present, when you have these different aspects of everything, they need to present the whole picture together. They can't do piecemealing it. It doesn't work for them. It never has. And they have to be on point. This is what we're doing. And before people's imaginations run wild, boom, here's the next thing. This is for this customer. And this is this thing for this customer. And, you know, the Gears example, and I think Rod and Phil, they openly admitted they debated on it. And Rod was right. You need to have everything all at once like that, so people understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
sort of like how they announced the S and then the Scorpio at the same time, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Transparency, baby.
Yeah, I mean,
you'd be pissed if Scorpio comes out the following year and you bought an S.
I did both those things, but yes, I would totally be pissed if I didn't know.
Great argument on why you should buy an S and then upgrade to an X the next year.
But that's the thing, is you knew what was coming, so he planned ahead. Exactly. And that's what it allows the customer to do. It allows them to prepare for what does that future look like and how does it apply to me. And that's another good example of they've done it right. So they need to do more of that. They need to understand when they're doing something that if there's a controversial group of customers, and I've said this about not so much about Crackdown, but you look at a State of Decay and you look at Sea of Thieves. The brand's not meant to be. Those aren't supposed to be tentpole franchises, right?
Yeah.
So realistically, those games are great if you have some of your tentpole franchises releasing around the same time or announced around the same time, right?
Yeah.
But when you don't have that, it really, really affects like people's perception of the brand or what are you doing for me this year, sort of thing. So that's just another example where they just need to have a balance and understand that, there's these group of customers that are streamers. There's these group of customers that are local hardware. There's people that will buy an Elite controller as soon as the new one comes out. Like you got to make sure you cover your bases and understand that you have a broad audience that you're communicating and talking to in regards to that. And there's also a gap. There's an understanding gap from the hardcore to the development community. It's huge. It's like a Grand Canyon, man. It's gigantic. So they also have to do better about reducing that, being an issue. So. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say crap, and like I tried to keep my mouth shut, but I have to talk about just really quick, dude. Say Game Pass does go onto PlayStation. I mean, how funny would it be? In the podcast we're in, we always have like these PlayStation extremists talking about how our games are trash. Halo, Forza. There's so many games on the other platform on PlayStation that's so much better, dude. How funny would it be? Like if they put Game Pass on PlayStation, a streaming service via xCloud, and to see the numbers of PlayStation customers playing Gears, Halo, Forza.
Well, you would hear how great those games were and how they always like those games. Yeah.
Dude, I kind of want it to happen just to see that. Like, because I believe that is like the seventh trumpet in the Book of Revelation.
Well, listen. Here's the thing, right? They hate, and I mentioned this a long time ago because they petition for stuff, right? Sunset Overdrive, anything that was like third party or second party, they petition to get those games on their platform. Please hit the like button while you guys are here. I really do appreciate it. I like doing these actually because I actually had this afternoon free, and so I was like, hey man, this is brilliant. I asked Xbox to hop in, then Don was like, hey, let me hop in, and I was like, all right man, like perfect people to talk about this stuff because it's not overbearing. They're not going to be like, hey, let me talk. Not that, I mean, that's going to be tonight when Mooch and everybody's talking.
Are you think we're going to get words in, crap? Do you think we're good? I don't know.
It's going to be interesting. I think me and Boom are going to have some opinion, but always respectful because I like that guy too, man. Like good people. It's just everybody has different opinions when it comes to this stuff. And for me personally, isn't it weird though? Like we're excited about all these studios, and then all of these studios could be putting games on PlayStation as well. Like I don't know, that's still hard for me to kind of process in my head. Hopefully, hey, on the plus side, if you can play Forza on PlayStation, that'd be the first good racing game this entire generation that they get to play.
Right?
Even at 1080p, right? Even at 1080p. So
actual content in a racing
game.
Dude,
Jacob Taylor says stop. Nobody want that trash. Bullshit. You're telling me if the entire Xbox catalog is playable on PlayStation 4, nobody's going to play Gears or Halo? Get out of here. Get out of here. Do you
You'll
not
be playing
think
Sunset Overdrive. What are you talking about?
Forza Horizon 4, 3.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Do you not think that a lot of those PlayStation 4 owners were disgruntled 360 owners? Like, that's just the way it is, man. That's just what happened. It's that's the way it is. And I do think it's going to happen because, like I said, I had heard that Sony wasn't interested originally, but now, like, just from doing this podcast, I got a DM and said that, somebody heard that that was going to be announced last E3, but then at the last minute wasn't. But this E3 sounds like it's going to be interesting. Like, do people cheer for that? If they're like, we're putting Game Pass on PlayStation 4 and Switch, is there a cheer for that? Do you guys think?
There's a head scratching.
Halo, so.
What's gonna happen? People are like, what?
Yeah, like I'm not gonna sit there and go, oh damn, that's great news. You know, I don't really see that. You know, I don't
Can't
know.
wait to see those Game Pass numbers like when that happens. Like, dude, that's the
Well,
one
you
thing
know,
that's
we're
gonna be ironic. All right.
yeah, we're gonna get an interesting number from Game Pass, right? Because Microsoft doesn't share numbers per se, but what we're gonna get instead is them saying stuff like,
Active.
active users. So
Mhm.
those should shoot up quite tremendously, and if they don't, I don't think that would be a great look for
Dude, they're
Microsoft,
gonna be
right? Because I
playing
mean,
State of Decay 2. They're gonna be playing
ugh.
fucking Sea of Thieves. They're gonna be playing Halo, Gears. Like, it's gonna be insane if it comes down to it, dude. Like I said, my part of me definitely wants to see that, just because I want to see the active users go up like through the roof, like even higher now. Like,
Jacob, if you think the only game that's good on Xbox is Alan Wake, man, wake up, dude. There's a lot of good games on Xbox, man, and there's a ton of them.
dude,
If
play
like,
Ori.
yeah, I mean, like even from the smaller stuff to the bigger stuff, like Cuphead, Ori, Sunset Overdrive, Quantum Break, Gears, Halo, Forza, obviously really good games. Dead Rising 3, I think is actually a pretty damn good game. Killer Instinct, one of the better fighters this generation. There's a ton of really good games out on PlayStation and Xbox. That'd be like me going, hey, if Sony put their games on Xbox, they're all trash. I wouldn't want to play them. Hell yeah, I'd play them because they all have their own quality games. Now, I'll admit freely that Xbox hasn't had the quality of exclusives this generation that like Sony has, you know, especially later in the generation. But I guess it really just depends on
Well, Sony
what
had
type
a
of
low point too, right? I mean, let's just be honest.
at the beginning of the gen, yeah.
It's not hating on either platform. It's just like, you know, Sony had a low point. Microsoft had a low point. Sony might be going through another low point now. You know, we know of things going around the corner, and that keeps people enticed. But hey, guys, like, you know, these companies do have low points. I mean, it's going to happen. It sucks when it happens, and it sucks when you're invested in a one particular piece of hardware. Let's just call it what it is, and let's move on. And like it's kind of silly at a certain point.
Hey, Crap, can I just address somebody in the chat real quick? Because
go ahead, man.
Something freaking awesome. Yo, Victor asked, he asked Crap, do you think that Xbox would acquire 4A games? Now, Victor, that is a thought process right there. I would love to see them as first party under Xbox, because let's be honest here, 4A with the Metro series, for people who don't know, they did the Metro series. They always kind of like built for PC and always had great looking games on console. And I think that fits exactly where Xbox kind of wants to be. So if they are like available, because I know they've had kind of like financial troubles throughout kind of like recent history or whatnot, dude, that would be amazing if they could acquire 4A, because they do a great job with a story driven, highly graphical game. That would be cool.
Yeah, I actually have it. I'm going to start it. My internet's been acting up, so I haven't really been able to.
Yeah, it took you like a week to download it, right?
Yeah, it took me forever to download it. I was like, holy crap! I went and looked back, and it was not ready to play yet. So I'm actually kind of excited. Have you actually been able to play it yet?
Oh yeah, dude. And I will let you know. I'll know when you're playing it, because it's such a what I call a screenshot game. There's going to be certain points where you get into the game. And you're like, oh my god, you're looking around like, holy crap, this would make a great screenshot. And I'm pretty sure you'll be sharing like screenshots on Twitter. I'm gonna see like a whole row of screenshots.
So Xbox is a downgrade?
Compared to what they showed?
Well, I'm asking you. You're the one that did the video.
Dude, that will be cause for another show at another time, man. If you're gonna get into that,
I'm asking you, but I want to know behind the scenes.
Dude, if it's a downgrade, it's still a masterpiece on console. I'll just go there. I'll put it that way.
Fair
all right. Freaking gorgeous game, yeah.
Hey, so listen to I translated the official like French website, and it's funny because it's not in perfect English. So see what you guys can take from it. The big Xbox licenses as reinforcement supported by the Game Pass. But that's not all, because our sources have told us that games bigger than Cuphead and Ori would be traveling. Two of them let us know that one of the members of the Golden Triangle, Halo, Gears, and Forza, was potentially concerned. We do not know exactly which one or even in what form it will end, but that is currently part of the discussions that will take place between Xbox and Nintendo, because the possibilities are many, porting current games or episodes of Xbox 360 games more in step with the capabilities of the Switch. Exclusive spin-off, in addition, we were told that rare games could also appear on Switch. Conditional this time, and without more precision, we think, of course, Rare Replay, a collection of old rare games that would have a complete place on the Nintendo console. Remember that before difficult separation, Nintendo and Rare have been partners for 10 years, and that for many players, the two companies are linked to many excellent memories. In the end, there are hundreds of games on the Game Pass that could be playable on Switch through the Game Pass and xCloud. Xbox's streaming game system, according to our information, this solution could be accessible to players this year. During their investors, there was no mention of Scalebound, which was recently resurfaced, and this to our surprise, if we do not believe in porting the game as we saw it from last time at Gamescom 2016, it would not be impossible for some of the game concepts that form Scalebound to be reused in a brand new license exclusive to Switch. So, Don, that's something that haven't heard you talk about yet. What did you think about all this Scalebound nonsense?
I think it's nonsense.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, to put it lightly, I mean, here's the thing is like the game never ran on the Xbox One ever.
Yeah.
Good. As a matter of fact, it was supposed to be on the E3 show 2 years in a row and was pulled at the last minute because it was bad.
Yeah.
So when you can't even have it playable for the press, and people have been very critical about Microsoft exclusives, can you imagine one that can't be played by the press? Think about that for a sec. So, and here's the thing is, the company that's behind it, they're hit and miss. Platinum Games, sometimes they make a good game, sometimes not so great. So they're kind of a hit and miss studio as far as that goes. So they may take some small little elements here and there, make a more condensed concept, maybe use different assets entirely. I don't think I think Microsoft may own all those assets, to be honest with you. Usually that's how that goes. And it won't be the same game that they were working under Microsoft's umbrella in any more fashion. It can't be. From a technical standpoint, from just hardware differences alone, it's probably not even the same character. No Beats headphones, no white hair, probably. But you get where I'm going with that. I just think it's going to be another, where Platinum has found a lot of like action slash type titles with like Bayonetta and stuff like that. I think it's going to be something more along those lines. To be totally honest with you.
Yeah, like they could be using some of the assets and stuff, right?
Some of the concepts, maybe.
I don't know if you really can reuse the assets. I mean, you can repurpose assets. So, like, I do this all the time. For example, I have a really base model for human characters that I will tessellate and break down the geometry and create normal maps from and stuff like that. And I reuse that model all the time for everything. But that's me just being proficient. So they may take certain elements and redo the topology of the model. And just kind of help save themselves some time, but it won't look like what the previous thing was, I would imagine. So.
Yeah, I don't think so. I wouldn't think so either. Plus that, it would be damaging to Microsoft, to be honest with you. So I find it weird that a lot of these Game Pass to Switch rumors tend to kind of sit around what can Microsoft do for Nintendo, right? Like, put games natively on there, give us a Forza on there or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that is sort of surprising that Microsoft wants to kind of bend over backwards.
Well, that whole Rare Replay thing, that's a great idea as well. If you look at the games there, with even like the Viva Pinatas and stuff like that, it definitely matches kind of like the atmosphere of a Switch. Now, I know like games like Doom and other games that are darker have gone to Switch. But at the end of the day, when you look at what's presented and what's marketed for the Switch, it's a lot of brightly colored, cartoony type games. So Rare Replay would actually be really cool on the Switch as well. They said that there was, Rare was Nintendo at one point in time. So to see them kind of like mend that whole thing and possibly bring that back. But I kind of like the whole Sea of Thieves thing. I think that would be cool to see on the Switch, to be really honest.
It makes sense, honestly. Like, what do you think about if they made that like a free-to-play thing on the Switch?
Huh. Dude, you just threw that out of left field right there.
Well, no, because I was thinking like, they want to keep that game alive, right? They want to keep it going.
They would have to do microtransactions or something to get.
Weren't those supposed to come eventually though?
When it comes down to Sea of Thieves, I didn't really hear.
But I don't think it was ever confirmed.
I didn't really hear anything solid on it, and you know me, Crap. If I don't feel like there's a good chance for something, like when I hear about it, I just won't talk about it. I'll be like, nah, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'll just kind of like move on. But if they did a free to play model, there would have to definitely be some type of microtransaction. And you know what? I think that would actually work with Sea of Thieves when it comes to the aesthetics of the ship and stuff like that. Because there was points in time where people were complaining about how much certain things, certain aesthetics and stuff actually cost in game, like, with bringing in treasures and stuff like that. So if I know me per se, if I was able to get my ship to look the way I wanted it by throwing some money down, I'd probably be out on the seas a lot more because I'd be pimping out my ship. You know what I'm saying? While I'm doing stuff. I don't know. That's just me personally, but
you just need a sugar daddy pirate.
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, see, listen, because now it translated this. So from this website, Ori and Cuphead land on Switch, an alarm signal that confirms several information we had discovered a few weeks ago. I can actually read better. This is just how this is put out, by the way. Executives from Xbox and Nintendo have met regularly, especially in the United States, as Xbox and Nintendo of America both sit in Redmond. Conversations that are not quite finished, but of which several discussions have already emerged, starting with the upcoming arrival of Xbox games on the small Nintendo console. This has already begun since recently the Japanese manufacturer announced Hellblade would land on the Switch, but according to the information, it's going to be followed by Cuphead and Ori and the Blind Forest as well. So apparently kind of confirming that, Microsoft is publishing games natively on there as well. I'm surprised that Hellblade landed on the Switch, Don, because even though I don't really like that game, graphically it might be the best looking game this generation, especially on the X. So how do they get that game running on the Switch?
I don't know.
The size of the total game.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, how do they do it?
I don't know. I mean, it's just, there's not a lot of complicated AI in that game. So it's just, for that one, it's just texture scaling.
Okay.
So that you have to water down the textures quite a bit, but in theory, you could do it. In theory.
In theory.
In Ninja Theory. Yeah.
No, but seriously, it's like, it's always like, what is the most demanding thing in that game that's holding it back from being on that piece of hardware, right?
Yeah.
Even when it's played that game, there's not a lot of AI. It's only one or two kind of battles against kind of mano a mano. So realistically, the only thing that's there is, the textures. That's the part that's really, really demanding that's using within Unreal Engine. So I mean, that's what's taking up all the space. So if you can just do really low resolution textures, it's not really the I would say the polygon surfaces. It's not tessellated nearly enough to hold it back on that console, but the textures would hold it back. So
okay. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of interested in that because I'm like, how the hell are they going to get that game on there? But I mean, they also got Doom on there, and I guess Wolfenstein, so maybe it shouldn't be that surprising that they can get some games on there. But how they will run and how they'll look are different as well. Because I know Fortnite looks noticeably worse on the Switch, on my Switch anyway, than compared to the Xbox One X. Because I downloaded it to try to mess around with there a little bit, and I found it to be, not nearly as good. So hopefully. I just find this to be wild that we're talking about Nintendo.
Yeah, we're even
Xbox
doing a
games.
show like this right now. Talking about what we're talking about is absolutely crazy, man.
That is so weird to me. But I mean, I guess that's here's their closing thoughts on this. Anyway, these revelations are ultimately not surprising because in fact, Xbox has every interest in carrying its titles on a maximum of media. I love how they say this stuff. Selling consoles in itself ultimately yields little money compared to selling games or Xbox Live or Xbox Game Pass subscriptions. By bringing its services and brands to other platforms, starting with the popular Nintendo Switch, but also iOS and Android, Phil Spencer and his troops are sure to reach a very, very large audience, especially since at the same time, the American giant will continue to produce home consoles by its own means, which does not cut from its main users, which I don't know if I necessarily agree that it doesn't cut at all from its main users. As to whether Nintendo games could land on Xbox console, the question remains open. Our sources have preferred not to answer this question, which means they have not totally denied this possibility. When we remember last December, the CEO of Nintendo said that in the future, Nintendo could turn away from the design of consoles So that's something to think about. So I find that to be pretty interesting. I mean, I kind of doubt that Nintendo would put anything on Xbox. But I mean, you never really know until we see something like that.
5 years ago, you never thought they would have anything on cell phones.
Hey, you know what? You're not wrong. You're 100% right. So, even I can be kind of surprised and shocked by some of this stuff as it comes out. So, please, guys, hit the like button as I wrap things up. Don, real quick, what is your thoughts on Crackdown 3? Because I don't know if I've heard them completely yet. What do you think?
I love it.
Yeah,
and I don't apologize for it. I
love
right?
it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so many people are like, "Oh, you're wrong because you like a game." No, I think what it does reflect very poorly on is people can't allow games just to be what they're meant to be, right? Yeah. Like certain games are not going to be like other games. The question is, do they execute well what they're trying to accomplish? And Crackdown does that.
Yeah,
it has flaws. I openly admit it's got flaws. I would love to have a party system. It's one of the reasons why I'm not going back to multiplayer until they get that taken care of. I even have
3 weeks, man. 2-3 weeks.
Even I have doubts that they're going to be able to do it from a technical standpoint, but they're much smarter guys than me, so I'm rooting for them. That being said, the campaign is phenomenal. It's awesome. It is literally the Expendables, the game, right? Like it is. Just action-packed explosions. It's not supposed to like rethink how I interact with people. It's not supposed to change my life type of experience. It's supposed to go out there and have fun, and it does that perfectly. And more games need to be like that. And just like there needs to be story-driven games that are sometimes they're story-driven games that have no gameplay, but just a lot of story-driven stuff.
yeah.
Why can we have games that have very little story-driven stuff and all gameplay? Because last time I checked, every time when someone talks about graphics, to talk about gameplay.
Yes,
got it. So that's kind of my end thoughts on it. I don't think gamers should ever have to apologize for liking a game. It's not mediocre by any means, but it's definitely not a 90. That's for sure. I would say a solid 8 for me.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, man. I said it's perfectly fine if somebody wants to rank it somewhere between 7 and 8. Makes sense to me. I was with you as well. I thought that the proof of concept that they showed off in 2014 or 15 should never have been something to compare it to the final product, but that they should have been, a little bit more upfront with us from the beginning if they could or couldn't do something.
I think they were learning too. Like, here's the thing. So I've seen tech demos like that all the time. Well, not that exact tech demo, but tech demos from Sony. I've seen tech demos from Nintendo. I've seen all that sort of stuff, but that's never been in the public eye, right? And we went to this weird turn of events where we had more accessibility to things as end users, you guys, gamers.
Yes.
And now you guys are now starting to see the stuff I'm seeing. You have somebody talking to a journalist, just kind of giving kind of the hierarchy proof of concept thing. And then everyone in his audience has no idea what that means in regards to that. And so it takes out of context. And Phil's like apologized it several times over, but people don't realize he did. So when he said, maybe we showed things too early, and it's not that the technology can't do that. Matter of fact, you can't scale that technology. I know the physics that they run in the background to make all that stuff work. You can scale that technology to however high you want, depending on how many servers you want to take up. In regards to that. And I would say also the destruction, people criticize it, but I'll tell you right now, my i9 would be on its knees trying to run that physics destruction on local hardware. It can't be done.
Yeah.
So
interesting. I liked it. I'm not going to go back to it till the friends list thing is kind of sorted out. So
yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah. But I thought the campaign was amazing. Really a lot of fun. I hope they go forward if they go forward with another one that they have Terry Crews in right from the beginning, because you can kind of tell they added him late.
I want Terry Crews to be the announcer.
Oh, dude, he's great, man. Like that opening hook really caught me. I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is what I signed up for. This is Crackdown. Then jumping around, finding the orbs, you feel kind of like a puny punk at first, and then after a little bit, you start bulking up, and it gets really fun. So
let me hear the sales pitch. I want to tell you this. So imagine if Terry Crews graduates to the announcer voice, for Crackdown, and then have Dwayne The Rock Johnson is the next agent you play.
Oh,
What?
that would be all. Like I think that would be badass.
That'd be awesome.
It would be. So I hope that it does well enough. I know they discounted the game or whatever, but it is like one of the #1 games played on Xbox still. So hopefully they continue to it does well and people play it in Game Pass or whatever, because it's not that terrible game that people really sort of try to make it out to be. So play it for yourself. Yeah.
Crap. The thing about it is, like, when we were talking about this, I think it was on Crossfire. I said, well, with it coming out on Game Pass, people are going to play it themselves, whether they put down the money to buy the game or they use that $10 a month. And I think there was a special there. There was like $2 and you got a month or two of Game Pass around that time.
Yeah.
A lot of people got their hands on it. And from what I can see from my friends list right now, there's always it's always in the double digits on my friends list of people who are playing Crackdown. So it's not like they just tried it once and then put the controller down. It's like, oh, that's garbage, I'm not playing it. People are playing it through. And you got to like the game, or there's got to be something to the game that hooks you if you're going to play the game all the way through. And,
absolutely. Absolutely. I agree 100%. So with that, I want to thank you guys for joining me today. You guys, Xbot and Don, I appreciate it. You guys kicked ass. Please like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. We had a really good talk today. It's been fun. Wow, I'm going to have another podcast tonight that goes 2 hours. Damn. This kind of flew by, man. You get into it. You know what I mean? And it's fun to talk about this stuff. So I appreciate it. Like I said, share it out, all that kind of good stuff. Going to be interesting to see how this E3 works out for Microsoft, since they're going in alone. Funny that they could actually give a boost to PlayStation 4 and Nintendo by announcing their games going to those platforms. So hold on to your butts, folks. It's going to be interesting. We'll catch you later. Thanks for watching. Peace out.